Have you ever wondered how empires truly begin? I mean, not always with a vast conquering army, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes with the quiet strength of pivotal individuals, taking one steadfast step at a time.
Absolutely. We often look at the grand sweep of history, the big picture.
Exactly. But the real insights, I think, often lie in those foundational moments, those key figures who launch an entirely new era.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're taking a deep dive into one of history's most fascinating and, well, impactful periods, the rightly guided caliphate.
A really crucial time.
Our journey begins with its very first pillar, Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, and we'll explore how his unwavering leadership, his character, and his critical early decisions didn't just set the stage for a new civilization, but actually forged its very bedrock.
Yeah, it's a period whose significance is, pretty well known. But the profound depth of its foundational moments,
Right.
especially the unique characteristics of Abu Bakr's leadership and how his immediate actions right after the Prophet's death truly cemented the future of an emerging global power that's often less understood.
That's what we want to get into.
We're going to try and unravel those crucial elements today.
Exactly. We've sifted through, well, a pretty rich stack of sources, detailed historical accounts, diverse academic perspectives to bring you this deep dive.
Lots to work with.
Our mission here is to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge, those key insights, offering you a shortcut to understanding not just the who and what, but really the why and how behind this transformative era. So get ready for some surprising facts, maybe some aha moments that will hopefully leave you truly well-informed on this pivotal chapter in history.
Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, the unwavering companion and architect of a new era.
Okay, so let's unpack who Abu Bakr al-Siddiq really was. Because he was far more than just a close friend to Prophet Muhammad, wasn't he?
Much more. And understanding him means looking at his roots first.
Right. His birth name, Abdullah ibn Abi Quafa, maybe less familiar than Abu Bakr al-Siddiq.
Yeah, most people know him as Abu Bakr.
He hailed from the Banu Taym, a highly respected branch of the Quraysh tribe in Mecca. And this lineage, it wasn't just a detail, was it? It gave him a kind of built-in standing in Meccan society.
It absolutely did. But what's truly fascinating about his pre-Islamic standing is his intellectual prowess. Abu Bakr was renowned for his deep knowledge of Arab genealogies.
The Ansab.
Exactly, the Ansab, which was essentially, the deep understanding of family trees, tribal connections, historical alliances, really the backbone of Arab society back then.
It dictated so much.
It really did. And he was considered a leading scholar in this field. We even know of notable figures like Aqil ibn Abi Talib and Jubayr ibn Mut'im learning from him.
Wow.
So this wasn't just about memorizing names. It was about understanding the intricate power dynamics, the whole social fabric of the region.
And here's what truly set him apart, and maybe why he was so uniquely endeared to the Arabs. Unlike others who might use that kind of knowledge to highlight flaws or, disparage rival ancestries, which must have been common.
Oh, very common, especially in a tribal society where honor was everything.
Right. But Abu Bakr, famously, did not disparage ancestries, nor did he mention flaws. He used his knowledge respectfully, building connections rather than, well, sowing discord.
It was a remarkable kind of soft power, wasn't it? And the Prophet Muhammad himself actually affirmed this. He's quoted as saying, "Indeed, Abu Bakr is the most knowledgeable among Quraysh about its genealogies."
High praise indeed. And beyond this intellectual side, he was also a prominent merchant.
Yes, successful one. Widely known for his excellent character and generosity even before Islam.
That's key.
He traveled extensively for trade, reaching as far as Busra in Syria. Sources mention he had a substantial starting capital, 40,000 dirhams, which was a significant fortune at the time.
Wow.
And his generosity was already a recognized trait. So this blend of wealth, wisdom, and importantly integrity gave him immense influence and respect within Mecca.
Okay, now picture this. There's this moment that seems to just eerily foreshadow his destiny.
Ah, the dream in Syria.
Exactly. While on one of his trade trips, years before Prophet Muhammad announced his prophethood, Abu Bakr has this profound dream. He tells it to a Christian monk, Buhara.
Right.
And when Buhara asks about his origin, his tribe, his profession, he delivers this startling prophecy. He tells Abu Bakr, if your dream is true, then a prophet will be sent from your people, and you will be his vizier in his lifetime and his successor after his death.
Imagine hearing that. And Abu Bakr, he just kept this entirely to himself.
Completely a secret. Which must have been, well, a heavy burden of foreknowledge, right?
Right.
It must have shaped his perceptions, his readiness for the monumental events that were about to unfold.
It certainly highlights his discretion, maybe his foresight too, and it also points to something else we see in him, a pre-existing moral compass that was quite strong.
You mean his stance on alcohol?
Exactly. Abu Bakr never consumed alcohol even in the pre-Islamic era, the Jahiliyyah. His daughter Aisha recounted how he made this decision after seeing a drunk man engaging in some pretty disgusting behavior.
Right.
And when he was directly asked if he had ever drunk wine in those days, his response was firm and clear. I sought refuge in God. I used to protect my honor and preserve my chivalry, for whoever drinks wine loses his honor and chivalry.
That's powerful. It wasn't just avoiding it. It was a conscious, principled choice tied to his sense of honor, his muruwa, in a society that, while it accepted alcohol, still valued honor deeply.
It shows a profound moral integrity and really independent thinking even before any divine revelation came.
And that independent thinking, it extended to his rejection of idolatry too, didn't it? From a very young age.
Yes, there's that striking story. His father takes him to a shrine filled with idols, calls them your high and lofty gods.
And young Abu Bakr.
Just a youth, he challenges one of the idols, asks it to feed him, clothe him. When it doesn't respond, he just throws a stone at it, knocks it over.
Wow. Not just youthful rebellion then.
Right. No, I think it shows more. A clear demonstration of his inherent monotheistic inclination, maybe. His critical questioning of the prevailing religious norms. It suggests a natural leaning towards believing in one God.
These early details about Abu Bakr, they're really crucial, aren't they? They paint a picture of a man who was sort of predisposed to accepting the truth. He had this strong moral fiber and inquisitive mind long before the Prophet's mission even began.
Exactly. Which brings us perfectly to his profound role as the first male convert and, well, lifelong confidant to Prophet Muhammad.
This bond between them, it was truly profound, and it started way before Islam.
Absolutely. They were already close companions. Abu Bakr was intimately aware of the Prophet's character, his truthfulness, trustworthiness, noble disposition, and excellent character.
He knew him inside out.
This deep, pre-existing knowledge convinced him, as historical sources like Ibn Ishaq testify, that the Prophet simply could not lie to people. It wasn't just a casual acquaintance. It was a relationship built on years of observing an unimpeachable character.
So that deep knowledge meant his acceptance of Islam was almost instantaneous.
Pretty much. When the Prophet approached him, affirmed his prophethood, invited Abu Bakr to worship God alone, Abu Bakr embraced Islam immediately. No hesitation, no deliberation.
And the Prophet himself noted this.
He did. He highlighted this unique certainty, stating, I have not invited anyone to Islam except that they had a stumble, hesitation, and deliberation, except for Abu Bakr. He did not hesitate when I mentioned it to him, nor did he waver in it.
That immediate, unwavering faith is really striking. What do you think it was about his character, building on what we just discussed, that made him so uniquely receptive? Others needed time, understandably.
It seems like a deep resonance, doesn't it, with the message and with the messenger, almost as if he was just waiting for it. His faith wasn't just intellectual. It seems deeply rooted in his moral convictions, his understanding of the Prophet's character.
And that this belief wasn't just passive acceptance either. It was active, comprehensive support from day one.
Right. The Prophet Muhammad himself explicitly acknowledged Abu Bakr's immense contributions, his unparalleled dedication. He said, indeed, the most generous of people to me in his companionship and wealth is Abu Bakr.
So not just emotional support, actual financial backing, unwavering personal commitment. It underscores the depth of his devotion.
It really does. And this dedication translated into tangible, practical actions throughout the Prophet's lifetime, especially in those incredibly challenging early years in Mecca.
And that dedication, it wasn't theoretical, was it? He became almost like a practical shield for the early community, especially the most vulnerable ones.
Absolutely. Abu Bakr played a crucial role right from the beginning in protecting persecuted Muslims.
The story of Bilal ibn Rabah comes to mind.
A powerful example. Bilal's master subjected him to horrific torture, tied down in the scorching sun, heavy rock on his chest, demanded he renounce his faith.
Well, he wouldn't.
He'd only chant, Ahad, Ahad, one, one. Abu Bakr saw this brutality, purchased Bilal at his own expense, and immediately emancipated him.
And he didn't stop there, did he? He freed several other vulnerable slaves too.
That's right. People like Amir ibn Fuhaira, Zanira, Obeys. It shows not just compassion, but a real practical commitment to justice and supporting this nascent Muslim community.
Buying slaves just to free them, at considerable expense. It highlights his selfless nature, his deep belief in Islamic principles of equality and human dignity, even then.
It's a practical application of his beliefs, not just rhetoric. And his role became even more critical during the Hijra.
The migration to Medina in 622 CE, a perilous journey.
And Abu Bakr was the Prophet Muhammad's sole companion on this journey. They famously hid in the cave of Thar for 3 days. Sources tell us about Abu Bakr's intense anxiety, not for himself, but for the Prophet's safety.
That moment is even mentioned in the Quran, isn't it? Surah At-Tawbah, verse 40, calling him the second of the two.
Exactly, a testament to that bond.
It's such an iconic image of trust, deep intimacy, and his unwavering presence wasn't just for the Hijra. He was there for all the major battles, the key events alongside the Prophet. Never missed a single one.
That's remarkable consistency. Take the Battle of Badr, 2 his steadfastness was legendary.
And that famous interaction with his son, Abd al-Rahman.
Right, Abd al-Rahman was fighting with the polytheists then. Later, after converting, he told his father he deliberately avoided killing him at Badr.
And Abu Bakr's response.
Chilling, but principled. He said, "If I had seen you, I would not have hesitated to kill you."
Wow. That's extraordinary dedication to faith over family ties, especially in the heat of battle.
It really drives home his unwavering commitment to the cause. And his presence wasn't just symbolic, it was active, courageous. Think about Uhud, 3
A tough battle for the Muslims.
A disaster initially. Many Muslims dispersed. Rumors spread the Prophet was killed. It was chaos. But Abu Bakr was among the very first to break through the ranks and reach the Prophet.
Standing firm when others wavered.
Exactly. Along with other key companions like Ali, Omar, it showed immense bravery, loyalty in a moment of utter despair. He was a rock.
Indeed. And beyond these famous moments, he was just constantly there, wasn't he? Leading the Muhajirun flag at Banu Mustalik, present at the trench, Hudaybiyah, Khaybar, even leading expeditions himself.
He was deeply involved in every aspect. And then the conquest of Mecca in 8 he's right by the Prophet's side. And for him, there was that deeply personal joy.
Seeing his own father accept Islam.
Abu Quhafa, yes. During that triumphant entry into Mecca must have been an incredible moment for him.
And even at Hunain, later that year when the Muslim army initially wavered.
He was part of that core group with the Prophet that stood firm. Their steadfastness prevented a complete collapse, allowed the army to rally. It wasn't just bravery, it was a profound psychological steadiness.
But maybe one of the most profound signals of his future leadership came right at the end of the Prophet's life.
During the final illness. Yes, this is crucial.
Prophet Muhammad explicitly chose Abu Bakr to lead the prayers.
A huge symbolic act.
His daughter Aisha recounted the Prophet's repeated insistence. Even though she worried about Abu Bakr's sensitive nature, he cried easily when reciting Quran.
The Prophet acknowledged that, comparing her concern to the female companions of Joseph, but remained resolute.
And his statement was powerful, strongly hinting at succession. Allah and the believers refuse anyone but Abu Bakr.
A clear public endorsement, a powerful spiritual and practical indication of who the Prophet saw as leading the community after him.
And Abu Bakr's remarkable composure, his leadership at the moment of the Prophet's passing, that further solidified his unique position, didn't it?
The birth of the Caliphate and Abu Bakr's transformative leadership.
It really did. That was a moment of destiny, as you said. When the Prophet passed away Monday, 12 Rabi's al-Awwal, 11 June 7th, 632 CE, the shock, the confusion, it was immense.
You mentioned Omar's initial denial, just overwhelmed by grief.
Completely. And you have to understand the gravity. The loss of the Prophet wasn't just personal grief. It was an existential crisis for this young Muslim state. Who would lead?
And in this vacuum, a critical meeting quickly happened among the Ansar, the helpers of Medina.
Right, in Saqifa Bani Saida. They felt they were most deserving of leadership. They had hosted the Prophet, supported the Muhajirun, the immigrants from Mecca. Their initial idea was to pledge allegiance to their own leader, Sa'd ibn Ubadah al-Khazraji.
So you can see a potential schism brewing right there, a deep division threatening the unity of this new community.
A very real danger. But Abu Bakr, Omar, and Abu Ubadah ibn al-Jarrah heard about this meeting and immediately grasped the critical importance, the potential danger. They rushed there.
And Abu Bakr, with his characteristic wisdom, his composure, he addressed the gathering.
He did. He presented the Muhajirun's perspective, their precedents in Islam, their immense sacrifices, but he also acknowledged the huge virtues and support of the Ansar. He tried to bridge the gap.
But the discussion was intense.
Very. There was that proposal from the Ansar for shared leadership. An emir from us and an emir from you, two leaders.
Which Abu Bakr and the others rejected.
They believed firmly in the unity of the Ummah, the community. Abu Bakr argued for the Muhajirun's precedence, citing their earliest sacrifices, their close association with the Prophet.
And the turning point.
It came when prominent Ansar leaders, Bashir ibn Sa'd and Usayd ibn Hudayr, actually supported the Muhajirun's position. They recognized the need for unified leadership for the entire community.
So Abu Bakr seized that moment.
He did. He called for the assembly to pledge allegiance to either Omar or Abu Ubaidah.
But Omar refused.
Emphatically, recognizing Abu Bakr's unparalleled status, perhaps those signals from the Prophet. Omar declared no one was more deserving than Abu Bakr. He cited his status, the best of the Muhajirun and the second of the two in the cave.
And Omar initiated the pledge.
He pledged first, then others followed, including most of the Ansar. Sa'd ibn Ubadah, the initial nominee, didn't pledge due to illness and the delicate situation, but a general consensus formed around Abu Bakr. The first caliph was established.
Now, this moment at Saqifa, it's viewed very differently by various Islamic traditions. It's important we touch on that impartially.
Absolutely crucial. From the Sunni viewpoint, the Prophet didn't explicitly name a successor. The matter was left to the community's consultation, the shura, guided by Quranic principles about consulting each other.
So for Sunnis, the choice of Abu Bakr was legitimate.
Yes, seen as an inspired decision by the community, reflecting consensus and adherence to divine guidance on how to select a leader.
But the Shia view is significantly different.
Fundamentally different. They believe this succession was explicitly designated by divine text and prophetic traditions for Ali ibn Abi Talib and his descendants.
They cite specific evidence.
Yes, Quranic verses, traditions like the Prophet comparing Ali's position to him as Aaron's was to Moses, or calling Ali the guardian of every believer after me.
So from the Shia perspective,
the caliphates of Abu Bakr, Omar, and Uthman are considered illegitimate, seen as having bypassed Ali's rightful claim. It's vital to understand these differing foundational interpretations of Saqifa. They're the basis for significant theological and historical distinctions within Islam.
Okay. So regardless of these interpretations, Abu Bakr is now the caliph, and his inaugural actions were immediate, resolute, especially concerning that final command from the Prophet.
Right. His very first act was to dispatch Usama ibn Zayd's army to the borders of Syria to confront the Romans. This was an expedition the Prophet himself had ordered just before his death.
And Abu Bakr was unwavering, even with challenges at home.
Completely unwavering, despite immediate and pressing internal challenges like the brewing apostasy movements.
And this decision faced strong objections.
Very strong. Many prominent companions, including Omar himself, argued vehemently against it. They said Medina desperately needed all its forces for defense against these potential apostate attacks spreading across Arabia.
Makes sense from a purely defensive standpoint.
It does. But Abu Bakr's response was just legendary for its resolve. He famously declared, "By God, I will not undo a knot tied by the messenger of God, even if birds snatch us and wild beasts surround Medina, and even if dogs drag the feet of the mothers of the believers, I will prepare Usama's army."
Wow, and he personally saw them off.
He walked alongside Usama's horse as the army departed, a powerful symbol of his absolute commitment to upholding the Prophet's will, no matter the perceived risk.
What was the impact of that decision? It seems incredibly bold, almost risky.
It was bold. But despite temporarily weakening Medina, it had a profound impact. It projected this image of strength, of unwavering resolve to enemies and wavering tribes alike. It instilled awe, maybe deterrence.
And Usama's campaign was successful.
It was. He returned with spoils after about 40 days. It really underscored the wisdom, the strategic foresight behind Abu Bakr's decision. It showed the new Islamic State, even in its most vulnerable moment, would uphold the Prophet's directives, Project Strength.
Setting the stage for one of his most defining and perhaps most challenging periods.
The wars of apostasy, yes. The Ridda Wars.
This was a monumental challenge, wasn't it? An existential threat, really.
Absolutely. After the Prophet's death, this widespread wave of apostasy swept through Arabia. Sources usually categorize these challenges into three main groups.
Okay, what were they?
First, some tribes just outright returned to idol worship. Second, you had those who followed false prophets, charismatic individuals claiming prophethood after Muhammad. People like Musalama al-Kathab bin Yamama, Tulayha ibn Khuwaylid.
Right, a direct challenge to the Prophet's finality?
Exactly. And then there was a third group, equally dangerous in a way. They remained nominally Muslim but refused to pay zakat, the obligatory charity.
arguing it was just for the Prophet's time.
Yes, that it was a personal tax specific to the Prophet and no longer obligatory now he was gone.
So this wasn't just a military rebellion, it was an ideological crisis.
Deeply ideological, challenging the core principles of the nascent Islamic State. And Abu Bakr's response was not just firm, it was rooted in his deep understanding of Islam's holistic nature. He emphasized that prayer and zakat were inseparable pillars.
You wouldn't compromise on that.
Not at all. He famously declared, "By God, I will not cease fighting over the command of God. By God, I will fight whoever differentiates between prayer and zakat, for zakat is the right of wealth. By God, if they withhold even a young goat that they used to pay to the messenger of God, I will fight them for withholding it."
That's incredibly resolute. Was that stance questioned at the time?
It was, initially, even by Omar, who worried about its severity. But Omar later recognized it as divinely inspired truth, realizing that compromising on zakat would have fractured the entire Islamic State, its financial and spiritual cohesion.
So Abu Bakr immediately took action.
He did. He pursued the tribes besieging Medina, winning a decisive victory at Du al-Qasa. That was the first real success in the Ridda Wars.
And the overall outcome?
These campaigns, though arduous, were successful. They re-established the unified authority of the Islamic State over the entire Arabian Peninsula. Without this decisive action, Islam might have just fractured back into disparate tribal beliefs and practices. Its future as a unified political and social entity was really secured then.
Incredible resolve. And this unification, it allowed for another monumental task, didn't it? Something perhaps less known but equally crucial.
The collection of the Quran, yes. The Ridda Wars, while bringing unity, also highlighted a critical problem.
Which was?
A significant number of Quranic reciters, the memorizers, the Hufaz, were martyred in these intense battles.
Creating a real risk of losing parts of the revelation.
Exactly. And Omar ibn al-Khattab recognized this danger. He made a crucial suggestion to Abu Bakr.
To compile everything.
To compile all the scattered Quranic texts which existed on various materials, paper, leather, palm leaves, stones, even bones, plus what was memorized by hundreds of companions into a single organized volume. The fear was real. Parts might be lost forever as more companions died.
A monumental undertaking, almost like trying to piece together something sacred before it vanished.
It was. Zayd ibn Thabit, who had been one of the Prophet's main scribes, led this painstaking project.
He wasn't alone, though.
No, aided by other prominent companions, including Ali and Omar. They would cross-reference, verify every single verse. It was a meticulous process of compilation and verification. It took about 2 to 3 years.
And the result?
The creation of the first complete, unified manuscript of the Quran, the Mushaf. It remained with Abu Bakr until his death,
ensuring its accurate preservation for all time.
Arguably one of the most significant contributions to Islamic civilization.
Yeah.
It ensured the integrity of its foundational text for all future generations.
Truly foundational work, and this consolidation, this preservation, it then paved the way for something new, didn't it? Early expansions beyond Arabia itself.
Yes. While the Ridda Wars were concluding, Abu Bakr was already looking outwards towards the powerful empires bordering Arabia, the Byzantines and the Persians.
And an opportunity presented itself.
The arrival of Muthanna ibn Haritha al-Shabani. He was an Arab leader already skirmishing against the Persians in Iraq, and he came requesting Abu Bakr's support. This presented a strategic new front.
And Abu Bakr's response?
Swift and decisive. He dispatched Khalid ibn al-Walid, the same general who had been so effective in the Ridda Wars, with the first official Islamic military campaign outside the Arabian Peninsula.
When was this?
Khalid left Yamama in Muharram 12 AH. Started with a few thousand Muslims, soon reinforced by thousands more from various tribes heading straight for Iraq. This marks a significant shift, doesn't it? From defending borders to projecting power.
Definitely. And this led to the famous Battle of Chains, al-Salasil.
That's the one. A significant early victory against the Persians. It got its name, apparently, because many Persian cavalrymen strategically chained themselves together.
To prevent flight, showing their resolve.
Exactly. A commitment to stand and fight. The Muslims achieved substantial spoils, huge amounts of goods, and importantly, Khalid was instructed by Abu Bakr to treat non-combatant farmers well.
Reflecting the caliph's principles even in conquest, aiming to win hearts and minds, not just territory.
Seems so. Justice and mercy alongside military strategy. Khalid continued his successes in Iraq, conquering key cities like Hira. There he established a peace treaty with the local Christian Arabs, requiring them to pay jizya, the protective tax, in return for keeping their faith and lands. He also opened up other areas like Anbar.
His strategic brilliance really shone through.
It culminated, in Iraq at least, at the Battle of Fras. This was a crucial border region connecting Syria, Iraq, and the Arabian Peninsula. Here he decisively defeated a formidable combined force: Romans, Persians, and their Arab allies.
A major victory.
Huge. This battle effectively broke the power of the Persians, according to some sources. It eliminated any significant military threat they posed to the emerging Islamic State from that direction, at least for the moment.
So with the Persian front relatively contained, Abu Bakr makes another bold strategic move.
He does. He redirects Khalid, his most successful general, to Syria.
Why Syria?
He had already dispatched 4 legions there, tens of thousands of men, to confront a massive Roman Byzantine army, estimated at over 250,000 troops.
A huge undertaking.
Massive. And Abu Bakr appointed Khalid as the overall commander of all these legions in Syria. It signaled a major coordinated push against the Byzantine Empire. This strategic shift, initiated by Abu Bakr, really set the stage for the massive expansion that would define the rest of the rightly guided caliphate and fundamentally reshape the geopolitical landscape of the entire region.
Their rightly guided caliphate. A model of governance and expansion.
And this brings us perfectly to the broader story of the rightly guided caliphate itself. A remarkable period, about 30 years in total, from 632 to 661 CE.
So encompassing the reigns of Abu Bakr, then Omar, Uthman, Ali, and briefly Hassan.
Exactly. And this period truly laid the foundations of an empire, building directly upon Abu Bakr's initial stability and strategic vision.
And the expansion during this time is just unprecedented, wasn't it?
Astonishingly rapid. The state reached its peak under Uthman. You're talking about stretching from the Arabian Peninsula all the way across Syria and the Caucasus north, Egypt to Tunisia west, and the Iranian plateau deep into Central Asia east.
Just to put that in perspective for you listening, that means absorbing the entire Sasanian Persian Empire. Gone.
Wiped off the map. And roughly 2/3 of the Byzantine Empire's territory as well.
Wow. The initial capital was Medina, but that shifted later?
Yes, Ali moved it to Kufa in Iraq later in the period. And while Arabic became the official language, the caliphate itself was this vibrant tapestry of other languages: Aramaic, Armenian, Coptic, Pahlavi, Kurdish, reflecting its vast, diverse reach.
And religiously.
While Islam was the official religion, it's crucial to note the significant presence of minorities: Christians, Jews, Sabaeans, Zoroastrians. They coexisted within the caliphate.
And the core ideals, especially in those early years under Abu Bakr and Omar?
A strong adherence to Islamic Sharia principles, particularly a real emphasis on justice and human rights. This commitment to justice became a defining hallmark of its governance, building on what Abu Bakr started.
So how did these caliphs actually administer such a rapidly expanding state, building on that initial model established by Abu Bakr?
Well, the mechanism of succession, as we saw with Abu Bakr, was through bay'ah, a public pledge of allegiance.
Where the people commit to the caliph's rule.
Yes, based on his adherence to God's law and the Prophet's traditions, the Sunnah. This pledge was considered binding for life, as long as the caliph fulfilled his responsibilities. The caliph held ultimate authority, head of state, military commander with no designated deputy unless he was absent.
And this system developed significantly under the second caliph, Omar ibn al-Khattab.
Immensely. His reign from 13 to 24 AH, so 634 to 644 CE, is often seen as an administrative high point. Abu Bakr, before his death, had consulted senior companions and through that process nominated Omar, recognizing his strength, piety, and integrity.
And Omar's caliphate saw the most rapid expansion.
Yes, which demanded administrative innovations that really solidified the state structure.
He seems like he was an administrator par excellence, building directly on the foundations of unity and principle laid by Abu Bakr.
He really was. Omar's credited with establishing a highly sophisticated administrative system. He systematically divided newly conquered territories into provinces, Persia into 3, Iraq into 2, Basra and Kufa, appointing governors, walis, to oversee them.
And that unique system in Syria.
The Ajnad system, yes. Specialized military districts like June Damascus, Jintoms, tailored to Syria's strategic importance and tribal makeup. It was quite unique to that region.
And his oversight of these governors was famously strict.
Legendary for its strictness. Omar insisted on asceticism, on justice from his appointees. He famously summoned governors to Mecca every year during the Hajj for public accountability. Anyone could raise a complaint against them right there.
Wow, direct accountability.
And he even used postal carriers, the Baridid, to collect complaints directly from the populace in the provinces. ensuring transparency, trying to limit corruption, a clear commitment to just governance, building on Abu Bakr's initial integrity.
He also innovated in taxation and land policies.
Significantly, he implemented the Khawarij system, that land tax on conquered territories. Crucially, these lands weren't divided among the conquering soldiers, but remained with their inhabitants, who paid a fixed annual tax, regardless of their religion.
That must have helped stability.
Likely did. He also eased the burden on new subjects by abolishing many oppressive Persian and Byzantine taxes, and notably, he exempted women, children, the elderly, and the poor from the jizya, the poll tax on non-Muslims.
What about managing all the wealth coming in from conquests?
To handle that vast influx, Omar established the first diwans. Think of them as specialized government departments or ministries.
Like what?
Departments for stipends, Diwan al-Ata, military registries, Diwan al-Jund, revenue collection, Diwan al-Jibaya. His philosophy, again echoing Abu Bakr's approach, was to distribute wealth to those entitled immediately, not hoard it in the treasury.
And he minted the first Islamic coins.
Yes, in 18 AH, around 639 CE. While retaining some Persian designs initially, he crucially added Islamic phrases, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, and his own name, a vital step in establishing economic independence and a distinct Islamic identity.
Okay, so after Omar's incredibly formative reign, we have Uthman ibn Affan. His time, 24 to 35 AH, 644-655 CE, brought huge prosperity, but also, tragically, unrest. How was he chosen?
Omar, before he died from an assassin's wound, appointed a council, a shura, of 6 senior companions to choose his successor within 3 days. Through a careful process of consultation led by Abd al-Rahman ibn Awfa, popular support leaned towards Uthman, who was then pledged allegiance.
And his administrative style differed from Omar's.
Significantly. He faced criticism, especially later in his reign, for perceived favoritism towards his relatives, the Banu Umayyah. Appointing them to high positions, granting them wealth, this became a major point of contention.
And he changed governors frequently.
Yes, which some saw as destabilizing, compared to Omar's longer appointments. Also, the immense wealth under Uthman led to a noticeable rise in the standard of living in Medina. It shifted from ascetic simplicity towards greater luxury, which bothered some who feared a loss of the earlier piety and equality.
He continued minting coins, though?
He did, adding the phrase Allahu Akbar, God is greater.
And then comes Ali ibn Abi Talib's reign, 35 to 41 AH, 655-661 CE, an era famously marked by discord, the fitna, a stark contrast to the unity under Abu Bakr.
A very turbulent time. After Uthman's assassination by disgruntled soldiers and rebels, Ali was initially reluctant to accept the caliphate. He feared the deep divisions it would expose and worsen.
But he was pressured into it.
Yes, the revolutionaries who had killed Uthman, along with many companions in Medina, pressed him. They saw him as the most suitable candidate, his closeness to the Prophet, his prominence, his non-involvement in Uthman's killing. He accepted, hoping to prevent further chaos.
And his first moves.
He immediately sought to replace Uthman's governors, believing fundamental change was needed to restore justice and address the grievances that led to the assassination.
Was that controversial?
Highly. Despite advice from some companions like Abdullah ibn Abbas to be patient, the strong pressure from the revolutionary factions, plus Ali's own rigid adherence to what he saw as truth and principle, compelled him to act swiftly.
And he moved the capital.
Yes, from Medina to Kufa in Iraq. A major shift. He recognized that the strategic, demographic, and maybe even economic center of gravity of the Islamic State had moved to these newly conquered populous regions. Kufa was central.
Ali certainly had strong, loyal supporters. Many prominent companions and family members rallied around him.
He did. People like Abdullah ibn Abbas, Umar ibn Yasir, Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. But his caliphate was just plagued by the first fitna, the civil strife. It tore at the unity forged by Abu Bakr.
The main challenge came from Muawiyah.
Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, yes.
Yeah.
The powerful governor of Syria, appointed by Uthman and a relative. He refused to pledge allegiance to Ali. He demanded immediate retribution, qisas, for Uthman's death, accusing Ali, if not of direct involvement, then of harboring the killers among his supporters in Kufa and Medina. This led to direct confrontation.
The Battle of the Camel.
That was the first major conflict in late 36 AH, 686 CE. Some prominent companions, including Talha and Zubair, along with Aisha, the Prophet's wife, marched to Basra, demanding justice for Uthman. Ali confronted them.
And Ali was victorious.
He was, though tragically Talha and Zubair were killed in the fighting. Aisha was treated respectfully and escorted back to Medina. But the precedent of Muslims fighting Muslims had been set.
A terrible precedent. And then he confronted Muawiyah directly.
Yes, at Siffin, near the Euphrates River, a prolonged, brutal series of battles, indecisive for a long time.
And this is where the arbitration incident happened.
Exactly. Amr ibn al-As, advising Muawiyah, used a clever ruse when Muawiyah's forces seemed on the verge of defeat.
Raising the Qurans on spears.
Yes, calling for arbitration based on God's book rather than continued fighting. This maneuver caused a deep division within Ali's own army. Some demanded they stop fighting and adhere to the call for judgment by the Quran. Others saw it as a trick to avoid defeat.
Leading to a stalemate.
A stalemate, and worse, the fragmentation of Ali's supporters. This event led to the emergence of the Khawarij, who rejected both Ali and Muawiyah.
So the rightly guided caliphate effectively ends with Hassan ibn Ali.
Ali's eldest son, yes. After Ali was assassinated by a Khawarijite in Ramadan 40 AH, early 661 CE, Hassan was pledged allegiance in Kufa, but Muawiyah was simultaneously pledged allegiance in Jerusalem.
So two caliphs, another split.
Potentially. But Hassan, known for disliking war and seeing the disunity in his own Iraqi army compared to Muawiyah's unified Syrian forces, chose peace.
He abdicated.
He initiated negotiations and ceded the caliphate to Muawiyah in Rabi's al-Awwal 41 AH, mid-661 CE.
On what conditions?
The terms reportedly stipulated that Muawiyah would rule according to the Quran and Sunnah, protect the Muslims, and that after Muawiyah's death, the matter of succession would revert to Hassan, or be decided by Shura. This year was famously named Am al-Jama'ah, the Year of Unity, because it reunited the Muslim community under one ruler after years of civil war.
But that unity marked a fundamental shift, didn't it?
It did, because Muawiyah later, after Hassan's death, secured the Pledge of Allegiance for his own son Yazid.
Breaking the condition.
Effectively, yes, and transforming the caliphate from a consultative system, the Shura model, perhaps intended by the early caliphs, into a dynastic monarchy. This set the precedent for the Umayyad dynasty and marked the definitive end of the era known as the rightly guided caliphate.
Let's shift gears slightly. What about the judicial system during this formative era? Justice was clearly paramount from the start under Abu Bakr.
Absolutely, a core value. In the early days, Abu Bakr himself often performed the duties of a judge, just as the Prophet had done. Very direct involvement.
But it was Umar again who formalized things.
Well, Umar made groundbreaking innovations here too. He's considered the pioneer in formally separating the judiciary from the executive power. He appointed dedicated judges, qadis, for all the provinces.
And gave them guidelines.
Yes, he established comprehensive laws and guidelines for them, instructing them to uphold justice rigorously. His famous letter to Abu Musa Ash'ari, his governor in Basra, outlines detailed judicial principles emphasizing fairness, evidence, accessibility for rich and poor alike. Really foundational legal thinking.
And the police force, that evolved too.
It did, reflecting the growing needs of the state. Under Abu Bakr and early Omar, a formal police force, the Shuta, was largely absent. Security was mainly handled by the military or community oversight.
But Omar started something.
He initiated the concept of night patrols, al-Assas for public safety. He often conducted them himself with companions like Abd al-Rum ibn al-Mawfa. He also established the first dedicated prisons, al-Sijin, because previously offenders were often just held in mosques.
Then Uthman formalized it more.
Uthman was the first to formally establish police departments in the provinces, a significant step in institutionalizing law enforcement.
And Ali.
Ali further organized the police force during his caliphate, appointing a specific Sahib al-Shurta, or head of police. This organized force became known notably as the Shurta al-Qamis. You see a gradual professionalization happening.
This institutionalization makes sense as the state grew bigger, more complex, and supporting all this required sophisticated economic policies and resources, again, building on principles from Abu Bakr's time.
Yes. The caliphate implemented a surprisingly balanced approach to revenues and expenditures, drawing from diverse streams.
We mentioned Zakat earlier, the obligatory charity for Muslims.
Fundamental, a pillar of Islam, collected and distributed by the caliphs for social welfare, redistribution of wealth.
Kharaj, the land tax.
Right. Levied on conquered lands not divided among soldiers. Omar implemented this widely in Iraq, Syria, Egypt. The land stayed with original cultivators, Muslim or non-Muslim, paying a fixed annual amount. And the collectors had strict ethical criteria, knowledgeable, consultative, trustworthy.
They also had customs duties, Usher.
Yes, resembling modern customs. Omar established this after Syria's conquest, noticing the Byzantines had similar taxes. Muslims paid a certain percentage. All al-Dima, non-Muslims under protection, paid a bit more, but generally less than Byzantine rates. Small amounts were exempt.
And jizya, the poll tax on non-Muslims.
Yes, required from al-Kitab, people of the book residing under Muslim rule. It recognized their protected status, dhimma, and exempted them from military service. Crucially, it wasn't levied on the poor, blind, disabled, women, or children. Monks, ascetics, patriarchs were also exempt, and its rate was generally lower than zakat. It shows a nuanced approach to religious minorities.
And of course, a major source of income, especially with the conquests.
Ghanima, the spoils of war. Immense wealth came in, particularly from the Persian campaigns. The treasures of Khosrow were reportedly beyond description.
How is that distributed?
According to the Islamic principle of khums, 1/5 was allocated as per the Quran, Surah 8, verse 41, for God, the messenger, relatives, orphans, the needy, travelers. A structured way to use military gains for public good and state needs. The other 4/5 went to the soldiers who participated.
There was also fey.
Yes, wealth or property obtained from enemies without actual fighting through surrender, abandonment. That was also distributed according to Quranic guidelines, generally for the benefit of the whole community.
And all these revenues flowed into the Bayt al-Mal, the public treasury?
Exactly, the state's central account. The concept existed from the Prophet's time, mainly for zakat and jizya.
But Omar organized it.
Significantly, due to the vast conquests and huge wealth, he structured the Bayt al-Mal, establishing those specialized diwans for administration, likely drawing inspiration from Roman and Persian systems.
And the philosophy was distribution, not accumulation.
Yes, Omar's policy, echoing Abu Bakr's practice, was to distribute funds immediately. Ibn al-Jawzi noted Omar would empty the Bayt al-Mal annually. Ali reportedly did it weekly, fearing the sedition of wealth.
Interesting phrase, sedition of wealth. And Omar separated financial and political authority.
He often did, appointing separate financial officials distinct from political governors, like Abdullah ibn Masud managing Kufa's treasury while Ammar ibn Yasir was governor. He sent Ibn Masud as a teacher and a vizier for finance.
And non-Arab converts, the Mawali, serving in the army.
They also received stipends from the Bayt al-Mal under Omar, reflecting that early policy of equality in pay, regardless of origin. It really was a remarkably sophisticated and principled financial system for its time.
The military side is equally fascinating. The innovations, the key battles that enabled this expansion after Abu Bakr's initial pushes. Interestingly, Omar didn't like naval warfare.
Generally had a strong aversion to it, prohibited his commanders from fighting at sea, even deposed Al-Ala ibn al-Hadrami, governor of Bahrain, for an unauthorized naval raid into Persia. Muawiyah kept asking for a navy in Syria to counter Roman threats, but Omar consistently refused.
But that changed under Uthman.
It did, reflecting the evolving needs. Muawiyah petitioned Uthman again, arguing the growing Roman threat to Syrian coasts. Uthman eventually agreed, but with a crucial condition. No Muslim could be forced into naval service. It had to be voluntary.
And this led to a powerful fleet.
Yes, which successfully conquered Cyprus and Rhodes, and culminated in the decisive Battle of the Masts, al-Sawari.
What happened there?
The new Islamic fleet inflicted a crushing defeat on the Byzantine navy off the coast of Alexandria. This made the Muslims the undisputed masters of the Mediterranean Sea, at least for a time. A huge strategic game-changer, showing adaptability.
And the Caliphate produced these legendary commanders, their strategic genius often compared to Alexander, Hannibal,
Khalid ibn al-Walid, Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, Amr ibn al-As, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. Truly extraordinary military leaders who built on the momentum and unity forged by Abu Bakr.
We should mention some key battles beyond Abu Bakr's time. Yarmouk.
15 AH, 636 CE. A decisive land victory against the Byzantines in Syria. Massive numerical disparity, maybe 240,000 Romans against 45,000 Muslims.
And that story about the women rallying the troops.
An incredible anecdote. Muslim women, seeing some soldiers retreating, reportedly rallied them back with stones, tent poles, crying out, "Where is the glory of Islam? Where do you flee and leave us to the Romans?" Speaks volumes about the community's commitment.
Incredible. Then Qadisiyah.
Qadisiyah, also 15 AH, the pivotal victory against the Persians, opening the way into the heartland of their empire.
And Jerusalem.
Conquered in 15 AH too. After a long siege, the city surrendered, but on condition that Caliph Omar himself received the keys. He traveled there, entered peacefully, signed a treaty guaranteeing safety for the inhabitants and their churches, and led prayers at the Temple Mount site, a powerful symbol of just conquest.
Then the fall of the Persian capital.
Ctesiphon, or Madain, in 16 AH, a major symbolic and strategic victory. The Sassanian Empire was crumbling.
And the final blow.
The Battle of Nahawand in 21 AH, called the Victory of Victories. It decisively crushed the remaining Sasanian military power, leading to the complete conquest of Persia under Omar's reign,
And Egypt.
conquered by Amma ibn al-As. Included the siege of Babylon fortress, establishing Fustat, the first Islamic city in Egypt, near modern Cairo, and then taking Alexandria. Though Omar showed caution, warning Amr against expanding too rapidly into unknown parts of North Africa, balancing ambition with pragmatic governance.
All these military, administrative, economic changes must have profoundly impacted the society itself.
Immensely. In the early phase, under Abu Bakr, the community was marked by strong cohesion, general contentment,
But the conquests brought immense wealth.
especially under Uthman. This led to a rise in living standards, but also increased societal demands, expectations, a shift from the early simplicity.
And huge demographic changes.
Massive. Arab conquerors settled in new lands, mixing with locals. Meanwhile, the Arabian Peninsula saw an influx of non-Arab mawali, clients, freedmen, and slaves from conquered regions. Society became much less homogeneous.
Leading to new social structures.
Yes, contributing to new social stratification, class divisions, a departure from the more egalitarian structure of the very early days.
And this, coupled with Uthman's policies, fueled discontent.
It did, leading to protests, the siege of his home, his assassination, triggering the first fitna, the civil strife.
Which fragmented the community under Ali.
Deeply into distinct factions, supporters of Ali, Shia Ali, supporters of Uthman, Shi'at Uthman, demanding retribution, led by figures like Muawiyah and Aisha, and the new radical group, the Khawarij, who rejected arbitration and eventually assassinated Ali. These internal conflicts persisted until the year of unity under Muawiyah.
How were the Mawali, the non-Arab converts, treated through these changing times? We touched on stipends.
Right. Under Abu Bakr, sources suggest complete equality joining the army, same stipends, playing significant roles. Omar, while setting priorities for stipends based on precedents in Islam, prophets, family, early converts, Badr veterans, etc., applied these universally, not discriminating against Mawali.
But Uthman's era saw changes.
Some preferential treatment emerged. Greater stipends reportedly given to Mawali married to Arab women. This policy, among others, caused grievance, especially in Kufa, contributing to the unrest.
And Ali?
Ali, in contrast, emphasized equality. He revoked these preferences, equalizing stipends again between Arabs and Mawali, partly to appease tribes in Kufa and reinforce earlier principles of fairness. Shows the complex interplay of principle, politics, and social change.
Diverse perspectives on the rightly guided caliphate.
Okay, this brings us to the diverse perspectives on the rightly guided caliphate itself. Because history, as we know, is rarely seen through just one lens. This era is definitely no exception.
Not at all. Different traditions interpret these foundational events, the leadership, the conflicts, in really unique ways.
Let's start with the Sunni view.
For Sunni Muslims, scholars of the four major schools of thought, Hanafi, Shafi, Maliki, Hanbali, unanimously consider the rightly guided caliphate the most just, the most authentic application of Islamic governance. They see it as the ideal model, an epitome of tolerance and equity.
And how do they view the caliphs themselves?
All four rightly guided caliphs, Abu Bakr, Omar, Uthman, Ali, are held in equally high esteem. There's no preference of one over another in terms of overall virtue or legitimacy.
What about the conflicts, the fitna, between Ali and Muawiyah?
Sunni scholars generally advise a stance of neutrality, of non-judgment, leaving the ultimate judgment of those involved to God. They caution against taking extreme positions of love or hatred for either party, emphasizing instead reconciliation, unity, and learning lessons from that difficult period.
And there's that prophetic tradition that seems to support this view of a special limited period.
Yes, the hadith narrated by Safina, transmitted by Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. The caliphate in my ummah will be for 30 years, then there will be kingship after that. Safina then calculated the reigns of Abu Bakr, Omar, Uthman, and Ali, finding it summed to exactly 30 years. This reinforces the idea of this specific period as a divinely sanctioned epoch, a model distinct from the dynasties that followed.
Okay. In contrast, the Jafari Shia view that includes Twelver and Ismaili Shia is fundamentally different regarding the succession.
Yes. The overwhelming majority of Jafari Shia scholars believe the caliphate rightfully belonged to Ali ibn Abi Talib from the very beginning, based on explicit designation, Nas, by the Prophet Muhammad.
So the Imad of Ali and his descendants is foundational.
A core principle of their doctrine, yes. Consequently, they view the caliphates of Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman as illegitimate, seeing them as having usurped Ali's rightful position.
How is that viewed today?
Views can vary in intensity. Some traditional scholars might hold strong negative stances. Others, more contemporary figures like the late Muhammad Hussein Fadlullah, advocated against extreme expressions like cursing, while still firmly maintaining the core belief in Ali's rightful, designated imamate.
Yeah, there's also a third Shia perspective, the Zaydi Shi'a. They offer a kind of middle ground.
An interesting, distinct position, yes. Zaydis adhered to a principle called imamate of the less qualified mafdul, alongside the presence of the more qualified afdal.
What does that mean in practice?
It means they affirm the legitimacy of Abu Bakr, Omar, and Uthman's caliphates. They don't curse them, which aligns them somewhat with the Sunni position on the legitimacy of their rule, but they still maintain their belief that Ali was inherently more deserving, more qualified afdal for the caliphate than the three who preceded him. So they find a nuanced position acknowledging the historical reality while upholding Ali's superior virtue.
Okay, moving beyond Islamic internal perspectives, what about Christian communities living under the early caliphate? In Syria, Iraq, Egypt.
Generally, sources suggest they experienced relative peace and tranquility during these first few decades, under the rightly guided caliphs. Their conditions didn't drastically change from late Byzantine rule initially.
Taxes.
While taxes like the jizya were now paid to the new Arab rulers, these levies were initially often seen as tolerable, sometimes even less burdensome than the complex Byzantine tax system they replaced. Significant escalations in taxes tended to come later, under the Umayyads.
And the caliphs upheld agreements.
Yes, they diligently honored covenants made by Prophet Muhammad, like the one with the Christians of Najran. These were considered binding. This commitment translated into practical protection, preservation of Christian churches, monasteries, convents, and importantly, monks, ascetics, patriarchs were explicitly exempted from paying the jizya, a significant privilege.
So the overall view from Christian scholars, especially those from the Middle East,
Generally positive regarding this specific period, the rightly guided caliphate. They recognize the relative peace, stability, and protection their communities enjoyed compared to later periods or even late Byzantine times.
finally, the Druze view, another unique perspective.
Yes, blending respect with the concept of divine will. Druze theology holds that God knows best who was more rightful. They believe the actual historical order of succession, Abu Bakr, then Omar, then Uthman, then Ali, was part of God's divine plan.
Why? What's the reasoning?
Their reasoning is theological. Had Ali become caliph immediately, perhaps the other three might have died before fulfilling their crucial roles in spreading Islam, consolidating the state, compiling the Quran, etc. So the actual historical order was seen as necessary for Islam's expansion and the fulfillment of God's will for that stage.
So they respect the historical order.
Yes, they respect all four caliphs in their order of succession. However, they also believe that Ali holds a higher spiritual station or rank compared to the other three.
A nuanced position again.
Very. Neither outright negative nor absolutely positive towards the first three, but one that integrates respect for the historical order with a unique theological interpretation of spiritual precedents. It really shows how complex and rich the understanding of this foundational period is, viewed through different lenses even centuries later. Outro.
Wow. What an extraordinary journey we've taken today. We've gone through the remarkable life of Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, witnessed that critical moment of the caliphate's birth,
Right back to Saqifa.
and explored the foundational principles, the administrative innovations that shaped the entire rightly guided caliphate, all building on his initial vision and stability.
And we've also considered the diverse historical, theological lenses through which this pivotal era is viewed, which is so important for a full understanding.
This period, though relatively short, just 30 years, it laid down the very bedrock of Islamic civilization, didn't it? Establishing political structures, legal frameworks, ethical guidelines.
Things that continue to resonate and frankly be debated even today. It was a time of just immense challenges, incredibly rapid expansion, and profound internal development. It really defines so much of what followed.
So, as you reflect on this deep dive, here's a final thought to consider. How did the deeply personal relationships and the truly unwavering character of these early leaders, particularly someone like Abu Bakr, so profoundly shape the trajectory of an entire civilization, especially right there in its infancy? And what does that tell us, perhaps, about the lasting impact of individual character and leadership, regardless of the era or the context? Something to think about.